Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a hidden pitch-black world located directly beneath literally the brightest city on Earth. You know, when we think of Las Vegas, we picture the neon lights, the endless entertainment, the absolute desert luxury. But there is an entirely different reality existing right beneath the feet of millions of tourists, completely hidden from the sun.
It's such a jarring paradox, really. Up top, Nevada's casinos are raking in over $15 billion a year. It's this playground of decadence and massive wealth. But below ground, sharing that exact same vertical space, is a 200-mile labyrinth of concrete flood tunnels. And within that sprawling, dark network, roughly 1,500 people are living in extreme survivalist poverty. They're existing in near-eternal darkness. Often referred to as the mole people, they live completely unseen while tourists are literally driving right over their heads.
Which brings us to part 1, dangers of the deep. You see, it's one thing to imagine a tunnel, but it's a completely different reality to actually try and survive inside one.
Think about this. We're talking about descending 7 floors down into the earth. And down here, the environment changes entirely. One absolutely crucial detail is that police radios do not work at this depth. Now, obviously, that creates a massive lure for people trying to hide from the law, but it also means that if you're attacked, robbed, or injured, you are completely cut off. You can't just call for help. It's an environment where, as one resident put it, somebody could attack you, disappear into the dark, and absolutely no one would know. You are totally on your own.
But honestly, other people aren't even the most immediate danger. These tunnels, they're a deadly mechanical trap. You see, the ground in Vegas is incredibly hard, which means it doesn't absorb rainwater well at all. And these tunnels were built specifically to catch that runoff. So get this, even if it's a perfectly sunny day up in the city, a rainstorm hitting the mountains 15 miles away can send a lethal wall of water rushing into the tunnels in mere minutes. Residents have only about 20 minutes to escape, and it only takes 10 minutes for that water to reach 8 feet high. There's no siren, no warning system down there, just the terrifying sound of the rushing water itself.
And beyond the physical danger of literally drowning, there's the intense psychological toll of the environment. The total absence of sunlight doesn't just hide these communities, it actively alters them. Residents talk about how the darkness is almost like a physical entity, something that covers you and just erases you from the world. It literally changes their physical appearance too. People reportedly turn a shade of gray from the complete lack of UV light. That deep, unrelenting isolation slowly changes how a person thinks and behaves.
Let's move on to part 2, surviving the shadows. Because, as we'll see, human beings are remarkably adaptable even in the most unforgiving conditions imaginable. Surviving down here requires extreme adaptation. Just imagine walking through a pitch-black maze where one wrong turn means you're completely lost. Long-term residents actually navigate without flashlights. They rely purely on memory and feeling the tunnel walls just to find their way home. And when it comes to basic needs, they have to be endlessly resourceful. Some folks craft pans out of aluminum and use highly flammable hand sanitizer as a heat source to cook their meals. For hygiene, certain tunnels have water flowing in from the city's drainage systems. Residents actually use that to take showers, essentially bathing in the city's street runoff.
It's wild, but down here, a complete underground economy is formed. Bicycles, for instance, are treated like cars. They're absolute necessities for crossing that massive 200-mile network, making them highly coveted and fiercely protected. And this economy is largely sustained by the excess and debauchery discarded by the casinos right above them. People survive by dumpster diving, scavenging cables for copper, and, remarkably, collecting incredibly expensive items that drunk tourists simply abandon. One resident even talked about finding a discarded $3,000 Louis Vuitton shirt left behind by a tourist who won money on a slot machine and just walked away from their luxury purchase in the excitement. I mean, the waste of the world above literally feeds the world below.
Which brings us to part 3, the human toll. So who are the individuals actually trapped in the system, and why is it so incredibly difficult to leave once you've gone underground?
Well, it often comes down to a bureaucratic nightmare that's basically an ID trap. When you live in a flood zone with a high rate of theft, losing your belongings is pretty much inevitable. And when these folks lose their ID cards, they effectively cease to exist in the eyes of the system. Without an ID, you can't apply for a job, you can't rent an apartment, and you can't access social services. It's a massive roadblock. However, and a local outreach worker really hit the nail on the head with this, it's not the only roadblock. Even if you handed everyone down there a brand new ID today, untreated mental health issues and extreme trauma mean most of them would likely still be right back in the tunnels tomorrow.
And that trauma is deeply compounded by the community itself. Just listen to this staggering thought from Beverly, a woman who survived in the tunnels for 9 years. When asked what the hardest thing about the tunnels was, she didn't say the darkness. She didn't say the deadly floods. She simply said, the people. The hardest, most dangerous part of tunnel life is often the violence, the theft, and the sheer unpredictability of other people living in a lawless, incredibly high-stress environment.
To really grasp what this looks like, let's talk about a resident named Jay. His heartbreaking story shows exactly how fast someone can fall. He moved to Vegas, and immediately upon arrival, his luggage and his identity were stolen. He was left with exactly $27 to his name. With literally nowhere else to go, he ended up in the flood tunnels. Now, years later, the psychological toll has fully set in. He describes these terrifying hallucinations, pitch black, impossibly tall, faceless figures that mimic people's voices in the absolute dark. It's a chilling illustration of what happens to the human mind when it's banished to the shadows.
And, if you're sitting there thinking this could never happen to someone with a normal, comfortable life, consider Phil. Phil's story proves that the line separating everyday life from the underground is chillingly fragile. He was once comfortably retired. He owned a house with a swimming pool. But life circumstances slowly pulled him downward, and he ended up spending his final 8 to 10 years living under the city, surviving floods and the loss of friends, until he recently passed away down in those very tunnels.
Now, to put that into a broader perspective, here's a staggering reality. Nearly 7 out of 10 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That statistic proves that extreme poverty isn't just an isolated mole people problem happening in a vacuum. It's a systemic cliff edge. The people down in these tunnels, they were family men, retirees, and folks looking for a fresh start who just happened to slip and fall off that exact cliff.
So, I'm going to leave you with this thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. We look at the $15 billion glitz of Vegas above and the pitch black struggle below as two entirely separate worlds. But when so many of us are just a couple of paychecks, one stolen bag, or one unexpected disaster away from losing our footing, who is truly safe from falling through the cracks? Thank you for exploring this incredible subject with me, and remember to always keep questioning what's just beneath the surface of the world around you.